Coming up on Florida Man Sports, it's championship week in college football. I'm bringing you previews for all 5 championship games that have an impact on the college football landscape. Stick around. Welcome to Florida Man Sports. My name is Jacob Hopkins. Last week was Rivalry Week, which is the second best week of the season. Second, you may ask? That's because Championship Week is here. Not a single seed is set, and there are teams fighting for their playoff lives. Our first game is the Mountain West Conference Championship, featuring a 20th ranked University of Las Vegas Rebel squad and the 10th ranked Boise State Broncos. The Broncos are in a win and you're in situation, which would also keep a bye in the playoffs with said victory. The Rebels, on the other hand, were forced to make a quarterback change after their first 3 games of the year. They failed to pay their former quarterback, Matthew Sluka, the NIL money they owed him. But it didn't seem to matter too much as new starter Malik Williams has led the team to the conference championship game. Not all the credit can go to Williams, as the Rebels are 4th in the nation with 254 rushing yards per game. Speaking of rushing yards, let's talk about Boise State's Heisman hopeful running back, Ashton Jeanty. He's on pace to break Barry Sanders' single-season rushing record, so naturally, he's leading the country in rushing. The Broncos are 5th in the country in total yards per game and 0.6 yards behind UNLV in rushing yards per game. Jeanty puts up video game numbers as he averages over 190 yards per game. Simply unstoppable. Now who to take? Now this may come as a shock to some, but I'm rocking with the 4-point favorite Broncos. Earlier this year, Boise State traveled to Eugene to play the now number 1 ranked Oregon Ducks. Jeanty ran for nearly 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. If they can't stop him, I know there's no chance for UNLV. That game will be at 8 p.m. on Friday, December 6th. Then on Saturday, the 7th, we move to the Big 12 Championship at noon. It's the 16th ranked Iowa State Cyclones versus the 15th ranked Arizona State Sun Devils. The winner gets the final spot in the college football playoffs, and the loser gets nothing. The Cyclones are coming off their first 10-win season in school history, so spirits are riding high. They could ride that momentum alone into the playoffs, but if the power of friendship doesn't get them in, their stellar defense could pick up the slack. The Cyclone defense has allowed under 20 points per game this season to go along with their serviceable rushing attack and breakout sophomore quarterback, Rocco Becht. I'm going to use my same transition again. Speaking of rushing, Cam Skattebo has led the Sun Devils to a 5-game winning streak on the back of his 19 total touchdowns while averaging 5.7 yards a carry. In his last 2 games, he ran for 6 touchdowns, ran for over 300 yards, and ran over anyone in his path. Now, random question. Has anyone seen the longest yard?
That's how a white man runs a football.
Well, everyone talks about Skattebo. Nobody talks about the ASU defense. They've allowed more than 30 one time all season long. They were picked to be dead last in the conference, but now they're on a 5-game win streak. Give me the Cyclones as 2-point dogs. The defense will show up and keep Skattebo contained like we haven't seen all year. Sorry, Sparky. Next up at 4 p.m. is the rematch that most fans wanted. The 5th-ranked Georgia Bulldogs are heading to Atlanta to play the 2nd-ranked Texas Longhorns in the first top 5 matchup of the evening. In their first matchup, the Dogs controlled the game all the way through, coming out on top in Austin 30-15. The Red and Black have been scorching hot on offense the last 3 weeks, putting up an average of nearly 45 points per game. Preseason All-American QB Carson Beck has thrown for 11 touchdowns, 941 yards, and no picks over that span. He's quieted his critics from earlier in the year after a couple bad games, and yes, I was one of those critics. Then on the other side of the ball is a lethal Texas defense. They're 2nd in the country in points allowed per game with 11.7 and 3rd in yards allowed. They also have the best pass defense in the country with the least passing yards given up. They currently sport the 2nd highest odds to win the national championship as well. It's hard to beat a team twice in 1 year, but give me the Dogs in convincing fashion. Texas is a strength of schedule merchant. The only ranked team they've played all year is Georgia, and they were beaten down from the start. Now the game is 45 minutes away from the UGA campus? Please. At 8 p.m., it's the ACC title game. Per usual, the 17th ranked Clemson Tigers found a way in, but it's a new face this year. The 8th ranked SMU Mustangs, who were in a group of 5 team last year, are the 1 seed in the conference. They're not only new to the conference, but also to Clemson. The two schools have never played despite each other having over 200 years of combined history. Clemson is coming off a tough loss against their in-state rival South Carolina, but they were gifted a conference title game bid when Syracuse knocked off Miami last week. Given the way the playoffs work now, if they beat SMU, they're in. The Tigers have a legit shot too as they rock the 3rd most efficient Power 4 offense in the land. However, SMU has the defense to match the potent Clemson offense. Like Iowa State, their defense also averages under 20 points allowed per game. One downside for SMU is they're really not fighting for a playoff spot. They could be lulled into a false sense of security. SMU is 11-1 and they have found a way to win games this year, and they come in as a 2.5 point favorite. But Clemson's head coach, Dabo Swinney, has taken the Tigers to 9 ACC title games in his tenure. He's won his last 8. Give me the Tigers messing everything up in the playoffs. As Bruce Buffer would say, ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. That's because at 8 p.m. as well, we have the 3rd ranked Penn State Nittany Lions taking on the undefeated and top-ranked Oregon Ducks in the Big Ten championship game. Penn State has a Swiss Army knife in tight end Tyler Warren. He can catch, run for, and throw for touchdowns. He's also their leading receiver and most efficient rusher. State is also top 6 in both yards and points allowed. They also don't have to travel across the country to play in Indiana like Oregon. The Ducks' defense, however, is nearly as stout, but what they don't have in defense is more than made up for in Heisman candidate quarterback Dillon Gabriel. No college player has played more games, and only one has more touchdowns through the air. Gabriel has seen everything besides a conference or national title, so it's about time he plays for something important. Last year, we saw the number 1 team fall during conference championship week. And it's going to happen again. Give me Penn State in a nail-biter. In Oregon's 3 games against top 50% rushing teams, they allowed over 5 yards per carry and 164 yards per game. Penn State averages just under 200 on the ground. Give me the Nittany Lions. Shock the world. Coming into the week, this is what the playoff bracket looks like. Go ahead, take a look. Now here's what it could look like after my predictions. That would leave Bama out because Clemson was added to the mix. 3 of the 4 teams with a bye would also change. I'll shut up now so you can look at this mess. Well, that's the show. I genuinely hope I don't wake up on Sunday feeling like a complete idiot. But hey, you know what? As I always say, it's not stupid if it works. Have a great day, everybody.